everyone, it's been 8 weeks since my last video and I finished up with Speedbuilding 120 through 140 and I want to share with all of you how it went. The entire semester is actually 10 weeks and so there's 2 weeks left of class. The format of the class was that there's 2 classes a week, 2.5 hours each, and in addition to that there's a 1-hour lab dictation where we are actually combined with the speed class below us and get to hear some additional dictation to practice too. I've been really happy with my experience at Anoka Tech. The classes are very personal, very small. My class had 10 students enrolled total. The teachers are all really kind and really great. In class, sometimes there's extra time at the end of class, and generally the teacher would most often just stick around and be able to answer questions while we did some work. All the teachers have weekly office hours, and my impression is that they are very available. Weekly assignments consisted of homework log, so you would have to log your practice hours in a Word document. It did take some time to get used to that and get really efficient at it. Like at first, it felt like a big pain, but after a month or so, it was actually a pretty fast process. So you need to practice 18 hours per week to get full score on the homework log. Each week we're assigned required audio, so maybe like 5 hours of audio or something total that we are required to practice to. There's also a weekly lesson assignment. So lesson assignment comes from this book, so we'll go through 1 chapter a week from that book. It's a nice book. It's got different material, Latin and French terms, and different dictation, so kind of cool. In addition to this required audio, there's like plenty of other dictation audio from the school, so there's no way anyone could go through all of it, especially sometimes it's nice to repeat some of it. It can consist of drills from Chicory Meadows, multisyllabic words, phrase drills, vocabulary drills, but mostly it was dictation of literary or Q&A and that kind of thing. Sometimes you hear like the same material being dictated in the audio, but it was always different recordings, so like from different old classes or whatever. Every week we need to do a transcription assignment, so that dictation would be dictated at a slower speed than the goal speed. And so it was all about like making sure you edit it correctly. The next assignment was called off-speed test, and that would be dictated at 10 words per minute below your goal speed, and it would also be shorter. We also had an almost weekly grammar quiz, and at the beginning of the semester we also had a little writing assignment where we need to research like different judicial branches. Last but not least, there was the testing, a big part of speed building. So at Anoka Tech you could take 3 tests at your current goal speed per week, and I feel like most people did take those tests during class, so generally on Wednesday. And also first and last week or 2 of the semester you could take 6 tests. That's a little less than average. Other schools, especially ones that use EV360 or RealTime Coach, you can take a lot more. But on the other hand, I feel like the Anoka Tech tests are very consistent. I didn't really feel there was a big discrepancy in difficulty between the tests. So that's one criticism I hear about those other systems, is that the tests are very inconsistent. So that can feel frustrating. One thing I want to try sometime is try out EV360 and RealTime Coach and compare. But my sense is I don't think you're being held back at Anoka Tech by 3 tests a week most weeks at 97% pass score. If you don't pass your tests for the semester, the highest grade you can get is a C. I think most people don't really care, but it could be relevant if you're interested in applying for scholarships. And for most people, passing a speed in the summer semester is a lot harder than in the fall and spring semesters because you get twice the amount of time in those semesters. So how did the tests go for me? In week 1, Q&A felt fast, and it was, so I didn't turn in any tests that week, but I counted how many words I captured, and so maybe I was around 40 to 60%. By week 3, I had a test where I thought, okay, maybe 85% is down. And then in week 4 was when I turned in a test that I scored 96 on. And at Anoka Tech, again, you need a 97, so that wasn't a pass. But the following week, week 5, I scored 98 and 99. And then the week afterwards, week 6, I turned in a test that was graded at 98 again. So passed 120 by week 6. Then in week 7, I started to take 140 tests, and 140 tests at Anoka Tech are literary or congressional record. And that week, I turned in all 3 tests, and I scored 98 on 2 of them and 96 on the third one. And then the week afterwards, I turned in a test where my grade was 100%. So I passed out of 140 in week 8. In June, I was really focusing on adjusting the Q&A, so 2 voice, and also continuing to try to incorporate material from the second half of the Magnum Steno book. But instead of drilling it like I was before, I would just try to learn things on the go. Most CAD software have a feature where you can turn on a little box. It'll give you tips, like if you write something out a longer way and you have a shorter way in your dictionary, it'll show you your shorter way. And so that's how I would incorporate new briefs over time. And it also works that you can finger spell and it'll show you something most of the time, at least. I know how to do it in CaseCat, so I'll drop that somewhere and you can know how to turn that on. It's very easy. Other things I noticed is that I continue to be able to tell that I'm gonna pass the speed soon. Like the week I got 96 on Q&A, I felt like I think I might be able to pass this week, and I was indeed very close. And then the next week, the passes really came. And the same for 140. Like I felt that week, I think I can pass. I don't know if that means it's 96 week or a 97 week. Turned out to be both. So that fact still continues from before, which is interesting because I don't really test myself outside of the tests. I just practice and kind of like feel like, feels like it's getting better. And that's interesting because the way I practice is very different than the way I treat tests. Like practice, I just do what I want. I can stop, look something up, drill something real quick, whatever, stop again. I pretty much just do whatever I want. Versus a test, you gotta take it really serious. You can only hear it once. Sometimes when I practice, I'm very strict. I won't pause. I will just keep practicing. Especially when I know the teachers, they do look at some of the practice files, and then I know, okay, I need to keep my hands on the keys and not just do whatever I want. Another thing I would add is that in May and June, I wasn't practicing as much as I was in April and before that. I think I went too far in the steno direction and was losing sleep and house was falling apart and that kind of thing. So I wanted to recover on that. And then, of course, I picked up another project which put me behind on catching up with life. So everything didn't really clean up properly until July, but now everything's feeling more stable and now I'm continuing to invest as much time as possible into practicing steno as I can without messing everything else up. As for what audio I would practice to, most of it would be audio that the school gave us. And then as I reached the end of the week and reached the 18-hour goal that the school set for us, the extra practice would tend to be other stuff like, C-SPAN or a documentary or a TV show, maybe House MD or House of Cards since they're medical or kind of congressional. TV is interesting because obviously it's still audio, but sometimes they pause. And so when I'm really on point, I try to practice during the pauses as well. I'll like think of, do I still remember this brief or drill something, that kind of thing. Another thing I wanted to mention is that I also managed to get together a group of 2 other students at Anoka Tech and practice with them once or twice a week and do the required dictations together. So that was really nice and I encourage you all to do that as well. I also continue to practice most weeks with my in-person practice group, although we don't always manage to get together. And yeah, it's really nice to do that kind of thing. I'm really happy with my progress so far. Looking forward to the next class. 160 words per minute will be focused on medical testimony. 180 will be lit and jury charge at my school. And what will be really cool, although I don't think I'll experience it this semester, is that they start bringing in more readers to do 3 and 4 way dictation practice during that class. So that will be pretty sweet. 160 to 180 speeds can be very difficult for students, so definitely don't feel like I'm out of the woods, and we'll see how that goes. I think the next video won't be too long from now. I'm thinking about making a video about the technology class here at Anoka Tech, and I'll have a chance then to give my first impressions of the next speed class. Thanks for watching. Let me know if there's anything you're particularly interested in or want to ask me, and I'll see you in the next video.